there is something beautiful that emerges from tough times. I lived a lot of my life disappointed in who I was. You can be vulnerable, but at the other side of your struggle is strength. My grief is only the love that I have for the person that I've lost. And in that love, I found my purpose. In that love, I found my power.
Ashley, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so excited to talk about your new book, Strong. There's so much to go through, but I want to start with the title. It's called Strong. What does being strong mean to you?
Wow. I guess the definition of strong has changed for me, since having my daughter and going through that journey. I always thought I was strong, but I never really knew how strong I could be. When my daughter got diagnosed with such a terrible form of leukemia, seeing how like a little girl, going from 2 months old to 8 months old, showed up every single day, despite what she was going through, despite the illness, despite the procedures. My daughter is the definition of strong. These children who have to battle cancer every single day are the definition of strong. And, I live my life now thinking if I can just be a fraction as strong as my daughter is, I'll be just fine. I think being strong is waking up every morning and no matter how you feel that day, showing up.
Do you think strong is also being vulnerable and showing that side of yourself?
It is, and a lot of people make a point of this these days, but I never seen showing emotion a form of weakness in the first place. What I do is be honest and be transparent with my journey. And I think by me just being honest and genuine about how I feel on a day-to-day basis, but then also showing how I managed to battle through, is a great journey for other people to be able to watch and not feel that they're alone in how they're feeling. But then also they will still hold that hope that despite them feeling like that, despite them showing that, they have strength lying at the other side of it as well.
You write about the days when you were on X on the beach and when you used to play football. How would you say you're different now than you were then?
This book is, a story about me and my daughter, but I don't really think that people will be able to understand the story properly unless I reflected on my earlier life, like you mentioned. Not only the good parts about my earlier life, but the bad parts. Not only the good things about my character, but also the bad ones. And there was a lot of them. And only in sharing that so people can read it and understand it would people truly be able to get how impactful my daughter was. I believe that, I've always had ability in terms of athletics, in terms of football, but I've never ever, lived up to my potential. I've never ever been proud of myself. I don't think I've ever made truly the people around me proud. And I lived a lot of my life disappointed in who I was. And one thing that my daughter enabled me to do was truly be myself and feel comfortable in my own skin. And that was the start. I didn't have to have a bravado. I didn't have to try and be somebody that I wasn't. In this world, nothing good comes easy. And nothing easy ends up being good. And I think there is something beautiful that emerges from tough times. And during that tough time with my daughter, I found out who I was. And for once in my life, I liked that person because I felt like I was good enough for those who were around me.
Yeah. So tell me more about Azaylia. What was Azaylia like?
I mean, wow. I don't think we have enough time here, and I don't think I can even find the words to fully describe how amazing Azaylia was. She lit up every room that she went into. She just had this natural aura that gave people energy, that gave people life, that made people smile, that made people come together and feel loved. Every single morning, she gave me a happiness that I can't describe. Every single morning, she gave my heart enough love that I could have fueled the world. Every single morning, she filled my soul with hope. She gave me everything in this world that I could possibly need. Even though I feel like the unluckiest man in the world to have lost a daughter, I also feel like I'm the most blessed. I feel like I've been given something in Azaylia that nobody else has had, and I feel like I have to share it.
And she changed you so much. How did grief then change you?
After losing Azaylia, I guess initially it was incredibly difficult. I didn't know at times who I was. I couldn't really understand what had happened. It didn't make sense to me. I couldn't make sense of anything in this world, if I'm honest to you. Yeah. Grief doesn't have to be something that you hide from. My grief was something that I faced. My grief was something that I held on to. And my grief became my biggest strength, because I realised that my grief is only the love that I have for the person that I've lost. And in that love, I found my purpose. And in that love, I found a reason to keep moving forward no matter what is trying to stop me now. And that's my grief journey.
Yeah. And what was it like with you and Saff? Because obviously you would have supported each other,
Yeah.
but ultimately having to each deal with your own grief. How did you kind of balance that with knowing what each other were going through, but processing things in your own ways?
I think it's really difficult. It's about being as understanding as you can be for the other person, despite how you feel. Saff has always been, and still is now, very supportive of me. And she's always there for me. And I can honestly say that I'll always be supporting and I'll always be there for her for the rest of my life. Because she gave me the greatest thing I could have ever hoped, wished, or dreamed for. But in answer to your question, it's very difficult. You have to have a lot of patience. You have to be very considerate. And also you have to be very forgiving. Because you have to understand that, not every day you are going to get on. And on the days that you're not getting on, it's probably not personal. It's just what the grief is doing to that person on that specific day or occasion.
Yeah. And you've both kind of channeled yourself into the Azaylia Foundation.
Yeah.
You've thrown yourself into helping other people. How important has that become in your life?
Azaylia did that much in this world that she deserves a legacy. She helped that many people and was that inspiring and uplifting to that many people that the Azaylia Foundation is a reason for her to still be doing that now, and will continue to do it far beyond my years on this earth. Nothing kills more children in the UK than cancer, yet it receives less than 3% of cancer research funding because it's considered as rare. Now, the number one killer of children in the UK doesn't seem rare to me. So there is a broken system, and unless we do something about it, more children are going to lose their lives like Azaylia, and more parents are going to feel like me every single day. And that's not right. So that's why the Azaylia Foundation is so important, because we want to change that narrative. Do you know what I mean? We want to bring new talent and research into the childhood cancer space. We want to create a bright future for these children who have to battle, because they are incredible, they're amazing, and they deserve a proper shot at life. And we hope with the continued support of our incredible community, we can keep making great steps and we can really make a difference.
Yeah. And how was it writing this book and then also having to narrate this book for the audiobook?
I'll be honest, I was scared to start. I delayed it and I delayed it and I delayed it. And, when people used to ask me, I used to kind of make excuses why. But I don't really think I was truly ready to revisit a lot of the things at that point. And I'm so grateful that I did, because it's not only personally helped me, but I really believe that it can help a lot of people who are reading. And it's also another opportunity for me to talk about my beautiful little girl, which I will do every single day. until I die. Now, doing the audio broke me. Because I wrote the book, I knew what was coming, and that was difficult to turn up to those days in the studio. I had to do the audio. I was never going to let anyone else do it because it had to be my voice, it had to be my pain, it had to be my passion. How can I revisit all of that, feeling how I feel? But if I have to revisit it, how do I make it as magnificent as it should be? And I told myself, no matter how much pain you are feeling right now, you have to speak this with pride. And that's exactly what I did. I fought through the tears. I went through it all, and I believe that I delivered an incredible, audio book for people to listen to, and wrote an incredible book for people to read. Not for myself, but because of that little girl, and she's the reason why I get through it every single time. There's no point in my life, believe me, where I think that I'm strong. Everything that I do is hard, it's scary. Every single day, everything that I do. And every time I look up and I realise why I have to. Because she did, and she did again and again and again. In my toughest times is when I connect with her the most, because that's the time when I have to look up and seek my strength.
Yeah. Thank you so much for chatting about it. I cried so much with the book.
Same.
It's so full of love though. And that's why it's heartbreaking, because there's just so much love.
I think it's a true story of Beauty and the Beast. I can't lie. It's a love story written from a father's perspective, I think, which you don't really hear a lot of these days.
Yeah.
It's written from a man's perspective, a father's perspective, but it's an absolute fairy tale of a love story with a lot of emotion, a lot of heartbreak, but a lot of underlying strength and power, which I believe that, it'd be an emotional roller coaster for anyone reading it, but I believe that anyone who does read it will be able to take away a lot from it.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you.